It began with a ripple, a story that few thought would ever reach beyond the borders of China. But within days, that ripple became a wave, and now it's gone global. The world is talking about Yu Menglong. For months, his name had been whispered across online platforms, sometimes with sympathy, other times with anger. But recently, something shifted. The case that once seemed to be confined within China's entertainment circles suddenly broke through the wall of silence. International media outlets like CNN, BBC, and Reuters are now demanding one thing: justice for Yu Menglong. What caused this explosion of global attention? It wasn't just a rumor. It was evidence, documents, testimonies, and videos that had been quietly circulating online, shared by fans, advocates, and even anonymous insiders who refused to stay silent any longer. The files, collectively known as the Truth Files, painted a heartbreaking picture of what Yu Menglong endured in the final months before the controversy that changed everything. CNN's coverage began cautiously, with a short segment during their World News Hour. But it didn't take long before the story caught fire. The headline read, "Chinese star Yu Menglong's case raises questions of abuse, silence, and accountability." From there, the narrative spread fast. BBC's Asia desk picked it up next, digging deep into the inconsistencies surrounding the official reports and the timeline of events. The BBC broadcasted interviews with cultural analysts, former colleagues, and fans who've been closely following the story since the beginning. What emerged wasn't just a story about one celebrity. It was about the system surrounding him, the pressures of fame, and the silence that too often follows when stars are pushed to their breaking point. Soon after, the international spotlight grew brighter. Independent journalists began publishing investigative pieces, questioning how such a beloved figure could suddenly disappear from the public eye with so many unanswered questions. Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube exploded with hashtags like hashtag Justice for Yu Menglong and hashtag Truth Files. Within 24 hours, the story trended globally. What really caught people's attention was a leaked report shared by a European journalist who claimed to have spoken to someone close to Yu Menglong's team. According to the source, Yu Menglong had been under severe emotional stress for months, dealing with overwhelming industry expectations, personal betrayal, and pressure from agencies that seemed more focused on image than humanity. That single leak changed everything. CNN followed up with a special segment, Behind the Spotlight, the Price of Fame in Asian Entertainment. The program not only covered Yu Menglong's case, but also connected it to a broader conversation about mental health, exploitation, and the hidden struggles of celebrities across Asia. They played clips of Yu Menglong's old interviews, where he spoke softly about wanting peace, rest, and a life that feels real. Fans watching those words again couldn't hold back their tears. Meanwhile, BBC ran an exclusive interview with an unnamed close friend of Yu Menglong, who claimed that in his final public months, Yu had been quietly preparing to step away from the industry. He wanted to start over, the source said. He didn't care about the fame anymore. He just wanted to be free. By this point, global audiences were captivated. People who had never heard of Yu Menglong before began searching for his dramas, his music, and his past interviews. View counts soared overnight. Clips from his most emotional performances started trending with captions like, "He was telling us through his art." Foreign reporters stationed in Beijing and Shanghai began asking official agencies for comment. Some received carefully worded statements, but none offered real answers. The silence only deepened the mystery. Then, something unexpected happened. A group of international celebrities, actors, directors, and advocates from Hollywood and Europe publicly expressed their support. Tweets from global stars read, "Every artist deserves to be treated with dignity. Justice for Yu Menglong." The movement was no longer confined to Asia. It had become a global demand for truth. Amid the growing attention, fans organized online vigils, digital petitions, and awareness campaigns. Thousands of messages filled the internet, heartfelt letters, poems, and artworks dedicated to Yu Menglong's memory and legacy. His fans, once silenced, had now become the voice of the movement. But what's truly striking is how this case has become more than a story about one man. It sparked a wave of self-reflection across the entertainment industry worldwide. Producers, actors, and fans alike are beginning to ask difficult questions about the cost of perfection, the exploitation behind fame, and the humanity of the people who entertain millions. In one powerful moment, a BBC anchor ended her segment with a simple statement: when silence becomes too heavy, the world starts to speak. And that's exactly what happened. Reports suggest that international organizations are now taking interest in investigating the case further. Advocacy groups focused on media ethics and celebrity welfare have started coordinating efforts to demand transparency from those involved. The phrase "justice for Yu Menglong" is no longer just a hashtag, it's become a movement. Even Chinese netizens, many of whom face censorship when discussing the story, found creative ways to keep his name alive online. Through art, coded language, and fan communities, they continued to honor him, proving that no amount of suppression can silence a voice that once inspired millions. Now, as the world unites in seeking answers, one thing is clear: this is not the end. This is the beginning of a reckoning. Because Yu Menglong's story isn't just about what happened, it's about what still needs to change. It's about compassion, truth, and the courage to speak when others stay silent. And while the fight for justice continues, one truth remains stronger than ever: Yu Menglong's legacy will not be forgotten. His story has become a spark, one that's forcing the world to look closer, listen deeper, and finally, demand better. For every voice that was silenced, this global outcry is proof that truth always finds its way to the light. As days turned into weeks, the global momentum surrounding Yu Menglong's story only grew stronger. What started as a single international headline had now become a full-scale movement. From Asia to Europe to North America, his name echoed across social media timelines and television screens. CNN launched a second segment titled "The Global Call for Justice: The Yu Menglong Effect." In it, reporters trace how his case had become a catalyst for cultural conversation, not just in China, but across the entertainment world. They highlighted the pressures faced by artists trapped in systems that value output over well-being, image over emotion. BBC's follow-up investigation was even more emotional. The network managed to speak to two of Yu Menglong's former directors, who agreed to share their experiences under pseudonyms. One of them, a veteran in the industry, said with a heavy sigh, "Yu Menglong was one of the kindest souls I've ever worked with. You could tell he carried pain behind that smile. I regret not asking more, not doing more." That interview left millions of viewers speechless. Within hours, clips flooded TikTok and X, formerly Twitter, fans stitching the interview with scenes from Yu's dramas where he appeared teary-eyed or distant, asking, was he trying to tell us something all along? Soon after, The Guardian and The Washington Post joined the coverage. Their articles didn't just discuss the entertainment industry, they explored the cultural and psychological costs of celebrity. One headline read, "The Human Cost of Stardom: What the Yu Menglong Story Reveals About the Modern Fame Machine." The article went viral instantly. Meanwhile, YouTube creators across the world began producing deep-dive documentaries. Korean commentators drew parallels with similar cases in K-pop. Western journalists highlighted the lack of support systems for actors under pressure. And fans, millions of them, made sure Yu Menglong's name stayed trending every single day. But amid all the attention, something else began to happen. Old friends, former co-stars, and even industry seniors who had stayed silent began to speak. One of his co-stars from a popular costume drama broke down in tears during a live stream. He was always the one comforting others. Even when he was tired, even when his eyes told a story of sleepless nights, he smiled. "We all thought he was fine, but maybe we were wrong." Her words hit like a storm. Viewers flooded the comments section with broken hearts and messages of regret. The clip became one of the most replayed moments of the week. Then came the night of the vigil. Thousands of fans gathered across multiple cities, from Beijing to Seoul, from London to Los Angeles. They held candles, flowers, and handwritten notes, whispering the same phrase, "We remember." Digital projections of Yu Menglong's smiling face lit up buildings, bridges, and monuments. Online, a global candlelight stream drew over 10 million viewers. As the lights flickered across continents, something beautiful emerged: unity. For the first time, it wasn't about fandoms, drama rankings, or streaming numbers. It was about humanity, about a collective voice saying, "This isn't just one man's pain, this is everyone's reminder that fame doesn't protect you from suffering." During that week, a quiet yet powerful gesture took place. CNN reported that several global entertainment agencies began drafting new welfare guidelines for artists focusing on mental health, personal freedom, and fair treatment. They called it the Menglong Standard. Even in his absence, Yu Menglong was changing the world. Meanwhile, back in China, fans noticed subtle shifts. Censored hashtags slowly began to reappear. Mentions of his name, once shadow banned, started resurfacing. His official fan pages reopened quietly, not with loud announcements, but with soft tributes and words of hope. One post stood out. He may not speak anymore, but we will continue his song. It was shared hundreds of thousands of times within hours. Internationally, universities began using his case in lectures about digital ethics, celebrity culture, and global communication. His story became more than entertainment. It became education, awareness, and change. But for those closest to him, the pain never faded. One of his managers, who had remained silent since the controversy, finally spoke through a statement shared online. In it, she wrote, "If only I had listened more. If only I had seen beyond the work. He carried so much in silence. Let his story be the last of its kind." That single line, the last of its kind, became the heart of the movement. Fans began tagging their posts with hashtag the last of its kind, symbolizing a collective hope that no artist would ever face what Yu Menglong endured again. Soon after, BBC aired a final follow-up titled Legacy of Light, Remembering Yu Menglong. It wasn't investigative this time, it was reflective. They showcased his most iconic scenes, his soft-spoken interviews, his laughter between takes. They interviewed fans from around the world who shared how his work helped them through depression, heartbreak, and loneliness. One fan from Thailand said tearfully, "His characters made me believe in healing. I just wish someone had given him the same." As the segment ended, the anchor paused before signing off, saying, "Sometimes justice begins not in the courts, but in the hearts of those who refuse to forget." Those words echoed everywhere. The global call for justice had evolved into something greater, a message of compassion, accountability, and remembrance. Governments were now aware. Agencies were now cautious. The industry had been forced to confront its shadows. And as the world continued to seek the truth, one image remained unforgettable, a photograph of Yu Menglong, smiling softly, eyes filled with the kind of light that only genuine souls carry. That image became a symbol of hope, shared endlessly online with one caption, "He deserved better, and we will make sure others get it." Today, when people mention Yu Menglong, they don't just speak of tragedy, they speak of change, of a man who, even in silence, awakened a world that had forgotten to listen. The story of Yu Menglong is no longer about loss. It's about awakening. It's about millions of people finding the courage to demand truth, to choose empathy, and to protect the hearts behind the fame. And that is how one man's story became a global movement for justice, compassion, and lasting change. Because even though he may be gone from the stage, his light still burns in every fan, every story, and every truth that will never again be silenced.